So guys and girls, welcome back to SpaceXplr. We have another episode with a very special guest. His name is Darshan Deshpande. I'll give you a little bit of background. He's also known as DarshD, probably in social media, or probably I encountered him somewhere on LinkedIn or Facebook and seeing the activity that is putting it out there. So he is a management finance graduate, content creator, SpaceKind and Space Generation member, Analog Astronaut Community Moderator, Science Communicator, writer at Everlasting Hauntings Haunted Vermont, Aditya, Birla Capital, SunLife advisor, and supporter of Space for Humanity, space industry, and of course, SpaceXplr and Georgian Research Space Station, which obviously I appreciate a lot. And as I mentioned to Darshan before, he's a great science communicator. He's helping to spread all these companies, individuals, projects, just message out to the people. And he's doing a tremendous job. So I had to have you on and to talk about that, passion and science communication and space industry overall. So thank you again, Darshan, for coming over today, for your time, and looking forward to digging into all the great topics.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. And you are doing a fantastic work with Space Explorer and Georgian Research Space Station.
Thank you.
Both are doing great things for science and space.
Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. So look, so talking about, working with the projects or, science communication, look, all the aspects I do believe in the space industry matter. I did, and I continue to do science communication through SpaceXplr. That's what the main platform is for, to communicate the science and bring great, cool people like yourself on the podcast so they can explain to everyday people why they should get involved or participate in the space industry, what's going to happen next. So talking about that, so one of the topics, as you kind of proposed, to talk about space industry for Earth and the importance of it. So can we speak about where this space industry now fits in with Earth, with this globe that we're living on, and what's going to happen in the future?
So space industry has been for many years been termed as elitist or something complicated and not concerning normal citizens or everyday people. But space industry has been doing such a great work in terms of studying planet Earth and extraterrestrial planets too, like Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and our moon. And by studying all these planets and moons, we are applying those research findings on our planet to make things better in terms of climate change, and also to know biodiversity and how we can prolong our planet's life. And space industry is not just to launch humans or satellites to space. Space industry is just much more than that. And space industry for Earth, we are living on Earth, and as humans, we need money, we need jobs, we need business. So of course, space industry is providing employment to many people, is providing skills to many people. Those skills are transferable. And it also works vice versa, because if a person is an engineer working in a company that's not space related, can after a while work in a space industry company. Or even now, artists can work in the space industry. You got many artists in space industry, like Dr. Simon Proctor. She's an artist too. Analog astronaut Rachel Grable and Chris Ware, some of the people I know, they're artists. And a space industry for Earth is basically helping to study climate change. And obviously the satellites and everything help us to study the tornadoes and weather. And without satellites, we wouldn't be able to analyze the patterns, and we wouldn't be able to help people to have natural disaster management. So space industry is much more than that. And now space industry is going to have private players, and it's going to have many different things like traveling, but it's not going to be very soon. It's gonna take a lot of time, like aviation industry. At first, it was almost like space industry. People thought that planes are like a child's dream. It's not going to be possible. And if it is possible, it's only for rich people. And right now it's happening with space industry and space tourism. And space tourism is like these companies are trying to make people believe that, yes, it is possible. it is for high net worth or ultra high net worth people right now. But after a decade or two, or perhaps let's just be pessimistic here and let's say after 50 years, maybe after 50 years, it's going to be affordable. And if there are going to be new fuel, reusable rockets, which Virgin Galactic is doing and SpaceX is planning to do, Virgin Galactic's space plane is an innovation. And if we have more innovations like that, the space travel costs are going to come down. And as more players, the more companies participate in space flights, the costs are going to come down even more. And even after 50 years, it's going to be more like a taxi if the train keeps going on. So I'm hoping that it's not going to take 50 years. Otherwise, we are going to be like Valley Fung or William Shatner. And that's a good point too, because for space industry, age is just a number. You can get the opportunity to go to space or work in the space industry, no matter how old you are. And in future, STEM education is not going to be necessary for space industry jobs or business. Because as we see it, space industry is connecting so many different industries. It's going to be an integral part of media, entertainment, and other industries. And now it's a little bubble because a lot of people don't know what's happening in space industry unless they tune into your podcast and YouTube channel, and unless they tune into NASA, ESA, or ISRO, or wherever they are, their science communication through YouTube and other websites. So this is the crucial role of science communicators like you and me, and space educators like Kevin J. De Bruin or Dr. Tanya Harrison, Raquel Neno, and another YouTube channel, Veritasium by Derek Mueller. They are all spreading information about science and space. And this is so important because instead of people just assuming space as something pop culture related or something only rich people or government can do, they need to know how space industry is helping them and how space industry inspires people and how space industry helps them without them knowing. Like I saw one of your YouTube shorts and you shared the inventions which we have right now because of space industry. So people need to know, and many people still don't know that the solar panels, touchscreen mobile phones, and robots, the robotic arms, all of them are because of the space industry and NASA and many other scientists. So this is how the space industry is helping planet Earth, and it will continue to do so.
Yes, these are very, very good points. So again, you as a science communicator, I want to ask you a question because obviously you're being a moderator on different platforms and doing science communication and spreading the awareness. So from your personal perspective, what do you think it's still needed to be done? Obviously, as you're talking about the podcasts and platforms available there, they continue to spread the awareness and science communication, which is great, but it still feels like not enough. As you're talking about, people still perceiving space industry as something as just for rich people can go and travel. This is not going to happen. It's just some kind of fairy tale story, right? That NASA or private companies are telling, right? So how do we increase how do we go from this point to the tipping point where everybody, through either science communication or maybe some other efforts, where we reach the tipping point where people start to understand that space industry is just another thing to our lives and it's just, becomes normal?
That's a very good question, and a question I ask myself too. And this is something I learned from Frank White, the author of The Overview Effect. And this is thanks to Space for Humanity organization, which I came to know thanks to their executive director, Rachel Lyons, who is also a SpaceKind member like me. And Frank White, in one of the webinars, told us that we need to approach people from non-space industry with practicality and not through enthusiasm. Because if they see that we are passionate about space, they will think that we are kind of partial or biased towards space. So we need to put the facts out, like your podcast or your platform. It asks questions that are so important. And those questions need to relate to their lives, like people's life, how space industry is affecting their job, how space industry is affecting their life, as in their planet, their community, their country. And we need to make sure that we present facts. When somebody says that space is fake, we need to tell them with evidence that this happened and these are the pictures, you can verify it. And there are some people who would just never understand that space is not fake. So for them, we need to take a different approach. We need to tell them that, okay, you think that space is only for rich people or space is fake, but at least just look at the effect on economy. Like space industry helping so many NGOs, like Inspiration 4, for example, the recent example, it helped to raise so much money for St. Jude's Hospital for Children's Pediatric Disease is in Memphis, Tennessee. And they also raised money through an NFT, non-fungible token, which is a new financial term, which is used by artists, and a new financial term. So there is also another aspect that Elon Musk usually tweets and does a lot of STEM awareness himself. And because of such tweets and Richard Branson and a lot of people doing STEM awareness, and because of them, there's going to be investment in space companies, and obviously investors get their dividend. Investors, if they invest in debentures, they're going to get interest. So people can actually benefit from space industry as an investor, as employees, as consumers too, because space industry also helps people to get entertained, and there's through entertainment there's also something good happening. Like Yuri's Night is an organization by Loretta Hidalgo Whitesides, founder astronaut of Virgin Galactic and also founder of SpaceKind Community. The Yuri's Night is not just an annual space party happening every year in honor of Yuri Gagarin, the first human to space. It's also an organization that's providing access to specially abled veterans and scientists to zero gravity parabolic space flights through Extra Access program, their recent one, and their long program of Cosmic Odyssey scholarship provides pediatric cancer families an opportunity to go to space camps in Huntsville, Alabama. So space industry is doing a lot of good things for humankind and our human species and for planet Earth. And Space for Humanity is also trying to unite people. And this overview effect is so special because overview effect is actually what happens when you see planet Earth as only one planet without any boundaries, any borders. We start to look at people as humans instead of looking at each other like European, African, Indian, or something else. So the overview effect is helping people to realize that we are all on this planet Earth as planets. Planet is a spaceship Earth, and we start caring about our life. We start caring about our planet, and this all helps when it comes to climate change and other things. Now, when it comes to skepticism, like I said, the main points are tell them immediate benefits to them because of space, whether it is entertainment, money, or anything else, or employment. And then tell them the future benefits. Tell them how space industry is helping their children or their grandchildren to have a secure future, because the space industry is helping to study climate change and hopefully reverse or slow down the climate change. And now another controversial part is space industry is helping people, especially Elon Musk is helping people to dream about human species being a multi-planetary species. So that's the future that our children, our great grandchildren might have. So immediate and then distant future. And if nothing works, all we can do is keep doing our work, keep doing our science communications. And I have seen many great people continuing their science communication like you. Then there's Bailey Burns, who continues to spread awareness through STEM Sundays, through Rubik's Cube, which is so important to generate curiosity about science and STEM among young people and people who like Rubik's Cube but are not curious about space. Then, like I said, Kevin J. De Bruin, then Jean Sia, and the board of directors, one of the board of directors from Mars Society Canada. I think you are also familiar with Mars Society Georgia. So yeah, Jean Sia is also a member of SpaceKind. His blogs help us to know how space is important. Then Brooke Edwards, one of the SpaceKind members, her blog is so helpful. And because of all these efforts, eventually people are gonna realize that space industry is important, and it's gonna be like aviation industry. Like first of all, people were skeptics, but then eventually they started to realize, no, we were wrong, and this is right. So we should probably just start accepting this reality that space industry is an integral part of our world. So it's definitely a difficult process, but we have to keep doing our work without giving up. Because if we give up, then their doubts are gonna get amplified, and this is not gonna be good for humankind. So yeah, keep up the good work. You are also doing such a great work for STEM awareness.
Thank you, Darshan. I really appreciate it. So, and this is a great way to explain again how to, get rid of these doubts is provide people facts. Still, I see in many cases, if you give people facts, they're still questioning even the facts. Because I do understand we have a lot of problems here on the planet, and not everybody lives the life that they would want to live, and they have a lot of problems, either financially, health-wise, and that's when you're in a tough spot just in life, it's hard to think about something else. When you don't have foods to put on the table, you're not going to be thinking about space innovation and rocket science, and you just don't care, right? So for them, that's why they have this pain build up inside of them, and they don't want to hear about anything else, which for them is just noise and nonsense, or whatever you want to call it. But look, there's a lot of problems. But as I mentioned, the post on shorts on YouTube, exactly, that's the truth. That because of the space flight, space innovation, a lot of those technical aspects and things that will benefit people here on Earth will be developed, and were developed through the time. So if we just focus on that and try to focus here on the people to solve their problems. Again, one of the problems, internet connectivity, which again companies like SpaceX and Starlink is trying to solve, and other companies too, to give an opportunity for people, because these days you can do a lot via internet. You can create a business. I mean, I did it via just laptop and a phone and a computer. That's what you need these days. So I think, a lot of these problems when it comes to financial poverty will be solved, again, through those space initiatives, which is, again, it's good to see. But I want to talk about a few more things. SpaceKind, which I see, by the way, the badge. So SpaceKind and Space Generation, you're a member of both of these groups. So maybe you can expand a little bit and explain what SpaceKind and Space Generation do, and how does that play a role in the space industry?
Okay, so first of all, the SpaceKind. The SpaceKind is a course and training for leadership development course developed by Loretta Hidalgo Whitesides, founder of Yuri's Night, and founding astronaut of Virgin Galactic. So SpaceKind is trying to give, just like the OU effect, is trying to tell us why space is important, and how you can apply the career space, not just space, but how you can apply the knowledge from space and Star Wars and anything else to your life, to make your personality better, to get the most out of your life, and to improve your relations, to get better results through your actions, and to achieve your goals. And SpaceKind is, like the name says, it is not just only about kindness, but like we say, humankind, SpaceKind. We are all SpaceKind. It means that we all belong to space. Planet Earth is also floating in space. We are all made up of stardust. And this is also something I learned from the Celestial Citizen, another community and podcast from the world's first space urban planner, Britt Duffy Atkins. She is also trying to prepare humans to go to space, and also through an open mind, through a mind that's full of inclusivity and collaboration. And in order to be a celestial citizen or a SpaceKind, we need to be accepting towards everyone. And SpaceKind community is a community full of scientists and STEM professionals, science communicators, space educators, and space industry professionals who are together and trying their best to spread awareness about space, to educate about space, and in their own career, they are doing fantastic work. And many people I mentioned are part of SpaceKind community. And anyone can become a part of the SpaceKind community by just checking out the course. And the course is really a life-changing course. And I'm not just saying because it's one of the self-help course. It's definitely something that everyone who likes space, everyone who likes self-development will enjoy. So that's SpaceKind, and it's doing a fantastic job in the same way Yuri's Night is doing, but this is more community-based. Now, Space Generation Advisory Council, SGAC, is pretty popular, and it has many branches, like virtual branches. It's based in Australia, but Australia, Europe, but it has many subdivisions based on regions. And when your question about benefits or the poverty or everything else was mentioned, Space Generation came into my mind, because Space Generation is always trying its best to provide email newsletters and other opportunities to all the members, because it tries to tell their members where the jobs are, virtual or real, where the events are, even providing scholarships. And through scholarships and these jobs, even non-space industry people can get a job, sometimes paid, oftentimes they're internships or volunteer work, but it's all connecting people. And through Space Generation Advisory Council, you can get mentorship. SpaceKind is also mentorship, but it's more personal mentorship, group mentorship through Loretta Hidalgo Whitesides. But Space Generation Advisory Council has mentorship program where you can apply to be a mentee or mentor. And one of the mentors, highly influential on social media, is Space Genia on Instagram. Space Genia is also a social media manager for Space Generation. And space influencers come from different backgrounds, not just science. So that's something people can do if they are trying to be influencers. They can be space influencers and science communicators or space educators. So Space Generation Advisory Council is providing a bridge to many people, educating people. And our giant leap is an initiative by Space Generation Advisory Council to help women and girl child to get more education awareness about space and STEM. So both of these organizations are doing an important work, and my role in Space Generation Advisory Council and SpaceKind is just to promote them. And there is no such work in SpaceKind, like once you are part of the community, there's no responsibility for you, but it's a mutual responsibility as a human being to promote the good for humanity. And for Space Generation Advisory Council, it's more of an active role. Like if you can apply for active membership, there are lots of roles and opportunities, like editor for reports, event organizers, and many other things. So both of these organizations are doing a great job. You can check them out on their websites, spacekind.org and sgac.org. They are both nonprofits, so yeah, you can check them out, and you can be a part of them too. And Space for Humanity is also a good organization. You can also check it out, and there is a citizen astronaut program going on. You can apply for that too. It's totally free, and it provides you an opportunity to actually live your dream of at least applying to it. And you never know unless you apply. You just keep trying.
Yes, perfect. So I do really encourage people who want to participate and become part of the community, which that's what the SpaceKind Space Generation also is. It's you become part of the community, which means you can have either conversations there or privately, because you'll be able to meet great cool people like Darsh himself, and become friends virtually or physically if you're living in the same country. So this is a really great supporting community, which because of that, during tough times like this, that community, strong community, helps go through those times a little bit easier. And again, it just help you with education about space and what matters. And so another thing that I want to talk about is obviously you're moderator for Analog Astronaut Community. So maybe you can explain people, first of all, for the ones who are probably, it's kind of first episode that they're seeing here. For the rest of the people who have been following these episodes, they probably heard the term analog astronauts. But for the new people, can you explain what is analog astronauts and why are those analog missions matter for us?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics because analog missions, you can say analog means simulation. And the best term to describe them is that if you want someone to swim in an ocean or sea, you will first help that person to swim through a swimming pool. So analog missions or analog habitats are like swimming pool for space. Like they are simulations, all the research and all the activities that you're going to do in space or International Space Station, you can do in the analog missions and analog habitats. So you're basically training astronauts, future astronauts, or even if you're not going to be an astronaut, if you just want to do a space research, like how people behave in isolation, how people work in isolation in space, you can do that through participation in analog missions. And some of the most popular ones are High Seas, Hawaii, space exploration, analog simulation at Hawaii, which I came to know thanks to Bailey Burns, Amanda Knudsen, and Elliot Roth. And the director, Dr. Michaela Musulova, is also an excellent science communicator. She describes high seas in the best possible way. She does videos and she does interviews in which she describes how high seas experience is and why it's important. And she also did some tour video on Instagram. So another one I really like is the recent one, which is Lunar Race, which I discovered. Lunar Race is in Poland. It's also a great moon analog habitat. And the high seas is Mars and Moon. It's more suitable for Mars, but it also does Moon. And another good one is Utah, which Jinsia, one of my SpaceKind friends, also went recently in Utah MDRS. And the one I look forward to is Georgian Research Space Station in future. And hopefully I'll get to talk about it in one of the future interviews if I make one of my future videos. So the importance of these missions is that you get to, if you're planning to be an astronaut, you get to experience firsthand how you're going to behave, how difficult it is, and whether you need any training. And Dr. Michaela Musulova actually provides training to analog astronauts. And many of these habitats do. They train people. And even if you're not an engineer, not scientist, there is a chance that you might be selected for these analog missions. You just have to check their websites and all the requirements. Usually they require a bachelor degree or master's degree. They don't mention any background. Sometimes they require experience in extreme environment, but they can make exceptions. And they actually help artists and other people to get to analog missions because they need science communicators, artists, and everyone to experience these analog missions and communicate the importance of these analog missions to the world. And that's why many artists like Foxanne, the Chelsea from space.com, who is also having STEM background, but she's more famous for her music and her articles on space.com. And Dr. Sian Proctor, geoscientist. She's also an artist and scientist and now inspiration for astronaut. She also went to high seas. And Bailey Burns, Elliot Roth, many people from your podcast, which I'm pretty sure your subscribers must have seen, they're also analog astronauts. So once you go to these missions, you become an analog astronaut. Beth Munn from Casual Space Podcast, an excellent science communicator, also career coach for space professionals. She's also an analog astronaut. There are many people out there who are analog astronauts. And once you become an analog astronaut, you actually know that space is so difficult and choosing crew is so important because we often feel that it is not important to have a good crewmates because when we are working in real life, we don't have to deal with them 24/7. But when you are stuck in International Space Station or something like analog habitat, you're stuck with them like Big Brother reality show, which I jokingly once said. You have to be with them, live with them like a family member. So it's going to be complicated if you don't have people skills, communication skills, and most importantly, emotional intelligence to deal with them, to care for them, care for their emotions and control your own emotions. And these all skills can be learned by being a part of these analog missions. And when I discovered these missions, I also discovered analog astronaut community founded by Jas Purwell, who is also an analog astronaut, and she also has UK Space Explorer analog habitat. And this community is also supported by Dr. Sian Proctor and endorsed by her. Once in Twitter, she also shared about this community because it's the only central community, official community for analog astronauts. And you don't have to be an analog astronaut. I'm not an analog astronaut, or you're not an analog astronaut, but we are both part of it because it encourages people who are interested in analog astronauts, analog missions to participate and learn more about analog missions, future opportunities, and just learn more about it and communicate with each other. And it's also community, so they're trying to build the community. And as a moderator, of course, my role is to check out the communities, spread awareness about the community, and usual moderator roles. And it's been a fantastic experience. I met so many great people who just not only teach us about space and science, but also about life. So it's been a rewarding experience.
Perfect. That's really awesome, because obviously, analog astronaut community is a great place for those people who want to explore, want to participate in some of those analog stations. So speaking about that, obviously we're working in a development right now for Georgian Research Space Station, and we put a lot of time and effort into developing the strategies and just what will make us different. It's not as looking as kind of business perspective, but what will make us different, that will bring people closer to having as close as possible analog station, rather than obviously I'm not saying against people who are creating a tent and calling it analog station, but to have a really in-depth research, we need to develop something that will be as close as what Mars 500 or any of the NASA's facility has, so we can support those missions as close as possible to real life scenario. But question for you, obviously, because you're a moderator, you're seeing what's happening with these analog stations. What would you say is probably missing, or maybe not missing, but could be developed a little bit better, or just ideas that you're seeing, again, something from the movies or just in general that you would love to see being applied in analog stations?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I like your observation about the tent or your home not being an analog experience. It is an analog experience, but in not a true space kind of way. So I think that the main thing missing is probably the research that goes into making these analog missions. Most of the analog stations which I mentioned have good base for their missions, and they have atmosphere and environment and even geological conditions similar to Mars and Moon. There is also one in Jordan, and Jordan has desert that looks like Mars, which I came to know because of Mag Makwani, who's the sponsor of the annual analog community conference, Borderless Labs. It's also a good company spreading awareness about STEM education and also helping children from Middle East to get educated about in STEM. So, like I said, Jordan and these other places have soil or other biological conditions like trees or other things that are similar to Earth or other things like Mars, then you can actually do analog missions there. So what I think, if anyone wants to make an analog habitat, they need to first research the area which they have, and they need to see, they need to actually hire geologists, scientists, to see if the soil and features are similar to the planned analog which they have in mind. Like if they want a Mars analog mission, they need to have some redness. If they want redness also in the soil on Mars is different than Moon, and Moon is rather harsh, and there is moon dust problem there, which Paragon and the team is also trying to mitigate. Paragon is a Space Development Corporation, and moon dust is a big problem there. And if you can simulate that kind of condition, you can actually have a research at your analog missions, which relate to moon dust. And another aspect is spacesuits. One of the people I know, like Ryan Krugvig, who is also an analog astronaut, and he does great research on spacesuits, is that there are many kinds of spacesuits. Like, for example, the SpaceX Inspiration 4 spacesuits cannot be used outside the spaceship. They're only for inside the spaceship. And the reason why NASA was recently in news was because their Artemis mission was getting delayed and still is delayed because they need new spacesuits, and those spacesuits are gonna take a while to make. And now, coming back to analog missions, you need a spacesuit that simulates the inside of spaceship and also outside of spaceship conditions. Now you can easily simulate what's going on inside the spaceship with your inside the spaceship spacesuit, because it's not going to be expensive. But what you're going to do about the things that happen outside? So when it comes to that, High Seas has a good spacesuit, and nothing is perfect, but it's pretty close to perfect, and all those helmets and everything. And people need to observe that all these missions are pretty expensive, and if these spacesuits are integrated into these analog missions, then we need to either cut down the cost of the spacesuits, or perhaps increase the price of participation for analog missions. So you need a balance between both. Like, you need authentic experience and affordable research for participants. So if we can develop new spacesuits, we can hopefully have affordable and authentic experience for analog astronauts and researchers to see how it feels to be on EVA, extravehicular experience outside the spaceship, which are often done. The EVAs are often done on these analog missions. So we need to have a good atmosphere, authentic atmosphere. We need good spacesuits. And another thing is the management. Obviously, all of these analog missions are well managed, and you need a good management to actually have people participate in analog missions. So yeah, these are the things, and I'm pretty sure you can pull it off, because I see that your management is so good and your research is so good when it comes to space and everything.
So yes, I do agree that, we need the analog missions to go a little bit up the notch when it comes to just creating realistic scenario, because obviously I'm not trying to, discourage or talk badly about those stations, but I do believe we need to work on things a little bit more realistic versus putting overall and motorcycle helmet on and calling that a spacesuit, which is not. Working on spacesuits, simulation and trying to develop a spacesuit, which obviously you're saying it could be a little bit of pricey. Obviously, look, if you get creative, there is ways that you can develop, that cheaper. Obviously, like we're doing that, we're working on that currently right now. Look, there's one analog I would call that as close as possible to reality, and I see those people putting a lot of time, and I want to give them credit. Those are really good people. It is people from Austrian Space Forum, any of the Amity missions, and now currently they're having another mission too at this moment. So they really developed the spacesuit and continue to develop with, again, integrated systems and really lifelike a spacesuit that could potentially be used in the case of Moon and Mars. So besides that, I don't see anybody else who are trying to achieve that. But look, hopefully some of those people would see the message, or they will start to understand themselves that we need to, not because, it's time saving or money saving. Look, the money is out there. Like, we're living in an environment where we actually are in charge. When I speak, we, it's not us, but the government, and there's more than enough money to support the efforts. The question is, how do you sell the project idea? What type of people you bring and put together? That's another question, right? But the money is out there. So I do encourage those people to go out there and just to create better facilities that would facilitate the researchers and analog astronauts to have that, out of the world experience in the near future. So I want to ask you, Darsha, again, before we're going to go, I'm very curious because you're involved in very different projects, again, science communication, you do a lot of different stuff. So for me, the question is, when I look at you, is like, what the near future holds for DarshD? What is it going to be next for you?
Oh, thank you so much for asking this. And I think that, like I said many times, anybody who's from any industry can participate in space and science communication. So also for me, if I get lucky, I might enter a space industry in future. But even if not, I'm going to continue spreading awareness about space, spreading awareness about STEM and why it's important. And because space industry is one of those industries that's so positive and encouraging and so welcoming to people. So I encourage everyone to participate in space industry through communities and through actual work too. Like you can go to spacespecialist.com, or you can also go to Space Generation Advisory Council to know the opportunities, the jobs in space industry. You can obviously find jobs on LinkedIn or any other platform too. And they usually don't require space industry experience. So you can also actively participate in that. You can also create your own company, or like you did. And one of the best things about space industry is that it's one of those industries that's never going to disappear, and is going to be an integral part of humankind. Is going to be essential, and it's been there even before we were here. We were born, and it's going to be there even after we are no longer in this world. So your future is safe with space, and space needs you as much as you need space. And you can find all the opportunities through just browsing through SpaceXplr, ESPLR, and other platforms, and Georgian Research Space Station. And you can also go to actual career coaches like Loretta Hidalgo Whitesides. Then there's Laura Forzak from Astronautical, and you can also go to Bethman, Space Xenia, and many other people who can actually guide you. And then there's Galaxy Space CEO Inara Tabir. You can go to all these people, and you can actually learn what you can do to be a part of space industry, and without even getting additional education or training, because you never know what you can bring to the table, what skills you have that could be useful to space, and what opportunities could be useful to you, and your life can change. And like one of the points you said about poverty or having health problems, space is also working on that. Like it's also helping charities and also generating employment, and employment, the jobs are just going to increase in space industry as the investments increase, the missions increase. They are going to need more people. And I'm just talking about Earth. And just imagine, once we get to moon, once we get to others, even once we get more space stations in space, we are going to need more people. We are going to need people who maintain that, who are going to communicate that, the customer service, other kind of things, even food. We might need people who sell food in space. So everyone's needed, and you just need to keep doing what you are doing right now. And while doing that, you also support space, and more than supporting, you just keep yourself updated about space and what's happening in space industry. And obviously, one of the best things you can do is subscribe to Space ESPLR and Georgian Research Space Station. And these are the things that you can do. And you can obviously just do your own research. But I'm pretty sure once you get analyzed, and once you get concentrated on these things, information is just going to throw itself to your face. You are going to see opportunities. You are going to see the importance of space, and it's truly going to change your life. So yeah, you need space as much as space needs you. So never give up, and always stay positive.
Very good. So this I couldn't find any better closing notes again for the show. So look, for you guys and girls who are watching or listening to this episode, now I want you to put the science community hat on and do exactly what we're supposed to do. So if you can share this episode to your friends, it's always greatly appreciated, because it's all about that science communication, spreading the awareness, the knowledge. Again, the Darsh today shared on the interview, anything from space industry, space economy. We touched a little bit about that, space analog missions, and more. And obviously, why space industry is important now and in the future. So Darsh, again, it's a pleasure to finally be having this interview with you. It's a pleasure to meet you finally, and wishing you a lot of great success. Obviously, you're putting a lot of effort and time into what you do, so you're doing a tremendous job. So thank you from me and from SpaceXplr community for all the support, for all the great things that you do, and keep up the good work. It's really awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was an insightful, thought-provoking experience. I'm so honored to be here, and I wish you and your audience to all the best for all of your goals. May you achieve everything you set your mind to. Thank you so much. And remember, we are all SpaceKind. So yeah, you belong to space, and space belongs to you.
Here you go. So thank you guys again for watching today's episode. I'll talk to you very soon. Take care.